Greetings, webheads, and welcome to episode 24 of Witty Banter, yet another Marvel Crisis Protocol podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Alex.
I'm David.
And I'm fucking sick.
We are here to help you get better at and have more fun with your Crisis Protocol. We know it's been a minute since we've been in your ears, webheads, and we appreciate your patience. Real life has interrupted, and we've just gotten off of our recording schedule. But we really appreciate you guys being here and coming and listening to us and giving us feedback. And we're going to work to do better to get back on our regular every other week schedule to give you some more content so we can all be spending more time talking about and thinking about this game that we all really love and getting the chance to be a part of. So we'll be bugging you a lot more than we have in the past, we promise. We are going to talk today about LVO, which just happened a couple weeks ago. JP was at the event, so plan for today is JP's going to talk about his experience, compare it to last year, kind of talk about where the game is at that point. We know that there's been a bunch of new stuff that's come out. We've had Gladiator, we've got at least some new crises that are teased, and we've got a couple of the Inhumans. We're going to get to that, so don't think we forgot about it, but we're going to just take it in chunks. So we're going to do LVO this episode, and then next time we come back, we'll start talking about some of the new stuff. So, JP, why don't you talk a little bit about the list that you brought down to LVO. What did you play, and why did you decide that was what you were going to play?
I ended up bringing Apocalypse. I was kind of having a crisis as LVO approached, trying to figure out what I wanted to bring. Last year, I'm a Guardians player anyway, and Guardians were pretty stupid last year, so I'm like, I'm going to bring the stupidest things and try to win LVO, and I got pretty close.
You were right there, man.
This year, I was just so back and forth on how I wanted to approach the event. Yeah, we didn't really talk about it on the cast, but I know I was talking to you guys IRL about it at the store and stuff, trying to decide. I didn't really think APOC was the man to win the tournament. I think maybe if he gets lucky. I mean, you have to get lucky to win LVO regardless, but if he gets extra lucky, you could probably 6-0 with APOC, but I mean, it's not, the chances are not great. But I have been having a lot of fun with APOC, and I was having like a real I was very down on the game for a few months there. And I was like kind of butthurt about it. Like I wanted to like the game, but it was just the games I was playing and the teams I was playing, like it just didn't feel good. The games didn't feel great. Like they were one-sided. It was just like dice blowouts, and I wasn't inspired by the teams. But APOC, I really got into that list. It's really fun. So I've been playing that for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, something like that, exclusively. Like I haven't played anything else. So it was kind of one of those things where LVO was approaching. I only have reps with APOC. I don't have everything painted. So I had to make decisions on, a list beforehand so that I could actually get pieces painted. And that was going to take probably 10 hours a figure-ish. So there's a time constraint there. My heart was telling me APOC, my brain was telling me to take something more busted like Thanos Cabal or Asgard, like possibly Defenders. But in the end, I went with APOC, and I went to LVO with a slightly different mindset. I was still going to compete and try to win, but I was going to have fun and laugh and just like have good games with my opponent and not feel so like sweaty about things. And that ended up being a really good choice because I had a lot of fun. Like every one of my games, I was like just laughing and having a good time. And I ended up going 4-2, finished 12th with APOC, and that's not bad. I didn't get best in affiliation because some other dude went 5-1 with APOC. Good for him. But yeah, I'm not 5-1 was kind of my target always. 4-2 is acceptable for me, so I hit it. I hit a target ish, lower part of the target, but it was in range.
So, David, I'll start with you, but I know we, as we JP was kind of getting ready, we're helping kind of get him ready for things. David, what were your thoughts in terms of kind of the list as LVO was approaching in terms of how Apocalypse was looking, or what the thought process would be in terms of a list to take to a tournament like LVO?
Well, I mean, I know we had discussed Asgard, and you were like on the fence about that one. But I
Yeah,
think
go ahead. You're good.
but I think APOC is, I mean, that looks like a fun roster. I really like how it plays and how, like, our game yesterday, you just like blew me out with that roster. Like, it wasn't even close.
It is a very fun roster. It it just takes like some characters who don't get played and like cranks them up and has like a bully in the game all the time. It's fun. I like it. It's got some interesting mechanics that you just can't do, like pestilence round one, like rooting 2, 3, 4 people. Like that just doesn't happen in any other list. It's just fun. The horseman mechanics super fun. Yeah, I had considered Asgard was probably my top pick because Thor 2 was the guy to beat, and I don't really like Thor 2 into APOC because he has so many throws and like high dice attacks that he can quickly chunk APOC into oblivion. Um, but uh, I was anticipating a lot of Asgard there, and I didn't think I was gonna have a lot of fun playing Asgard mirrors potentially all day. And Asgard has a fuck ton of capes that I'd have to paint. So
It's the little things that get you. Alex, you've been on the Apocalypse train as well. What were you thinking as a tournament like LVO was coming up in terms of how that list would set up competitively?
Well, I looking at it, I believe there were like 7 APOC players. Um, so I think that honestly felt about right. Not only because he's a little bit newer, but he's definitely got potential. Um, it seemed like the right number, and I just don't think it's good enough to beat Asgard. Just kind of like JP was going on. It's got potential, but and I mean, being the apocalypse lover I am, I can gladly admit and see that it's definitely got potential, but I don't think it was going to win. Uh, JP, the other APOC player. Do you remember what rank he was?
there were
Like what
actually
place he got?
there were only 4 APOC players there.
Oh, maybe that I'm mixing that up with Neverwinter.
Possibly. Yeah, the APOC did not
Uh,
have a good showing at LVO.
no, he didn't.
I mean, I think most people were kind of I mean, LVO is the most competitive, biggest event. People are going to try hard, and like, I really don't think APOC is that great into the current meta either.
No.
So I just like I went 4-2. The guy who got best infection got 5-1. So like that's 2 out of 4. I'm not sure where the other 2 finished. So I mean, the APOC players did decently, but I mean, as we saw in the finals, it's Asgard versus Asgard, which was completely foretold.
Yeah.
It was actually like flashbacks of my final game with Gregory last year. Like it was damn near. Like it was like mirror match with like Eric had Sif instead of DeLuca's Loki one. But like their other 3 characters are the same. I guess Eric had Brothers in Arms in his list as well, so that made it a little different, but
we'll get into more of the statistics kind of later on, but Apocalypse ended up being the 7th best affiliation ranking. 19 games, went 11-8 for 58% win rating. So
yeah, that seems about right.
So out of
that feels like a great number.
So out of 22 rosters played. Oh, now having said that, you had a 5-1 and a 4-2, so that does kind of it skews the stats a little bit. But yeah, JP, do you think? I mean, is it fair to say that Apocalypse has got a pretty steep learning curve compared to other affiliations?
At this point, he has the most moving parts of any affiliation. Just so many things that you have to remember and be cognizant of. I don't know if he's. I guess that would be the learning curve, is just like learning the mechanics. I don't know. I don't feel like his play, like the play is that technical once you grind games and like get the feel for the mechanics and remembering things, but it is a steep learning curve just to cram all that shit in your head and remember all the triggers and crazy shit going on. There's like everything has a different timing and it's just weird. But I mean, after you jam like 20, 30, 40 games.
I also think that his like as a roster, Apox turn 0 has a lot going on because you have to like decide like who's going to be a horseman, what horseman are they going to be, like
it's so fucking fun. Yeah,
I love it too.
Yeah, turn 1's so fun. I will say that after I've been playing APOC a lot, I kind of have my preferred characters in preferred rider slots, and that just kind of will get mixed up depending on the threat values, and maybe I guess the shapes too. The shapes will determine who I take as well, but typically I'm running Magic, Toad, and then probably Beast, but maybe Colossus as Pest, and then either Blob or Deadpool as Famine.
Yeah, so let's go over the roster that you did end up settling to take. So what'd you roll into Las Vegas with?
I don't have it written down. Do you have it in front of you? I had APOC, Blob, Deadpool, Magic, Psylocke, Honey Badger, Beast. Shit.
Let me pull it.
Colossus.
Toad and Bullseye.
Toad, Bullseye. Yes, thank you. I was saving Bullseye for last because he's not affiliated, but yeah. How did I miss Toad? Dude is like the fucking cornerstone of the affiliation. He's the only safe grab we have, and we can't afford to splash a safe grab because the safe grabs are expensive as shit now because Eyes on the Prize is gone.
True.
So Toad is the man for safe grabs. So he's basically I ran Toad 6 games.
Wow.
Out of 6.
So your tactics cards were Recal, Brace for Impact, First One, Immortal Servants, Survival, Sacrifice, Joint Effort, Journey Through Limbo, Venomized, and Psionic Constructs. And your crises were Mutant Madmen, Spider Portals, Scoundrels, senators, scrolls, and hammers.
That sounds correct.
Okay.
I made a last minute decision to put in portals instead of infinity, and I fucking hate portals. I took it out after the event. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be playing APOC, but screw portals. Hate that.
So let's walk through your games. Why don't you just kind of give a brief description of each of your games, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about sort of what we can kind of see coming out of that. So yep, for walking through each one of those, I've got the kind of the basics in front of me from Longshanks.
I made notes. This is going to be very surface level. I did not take any game notes at the con, and it's a week later, and I'm sick. So I'm just going to very briefly skim the game.
Okay.
I did. So when you had ordered those Witty Banter stickers, and we had some dice and some scenario tokens for Outlanders. So we put together some goodie bags that I was giving to each of my opponents at the start of the game, and that was pretty cool. It's
Nice.
like a token of token of friendship. You like make friends immediately, and then it's like all good vibes.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that quite a bit. Like the vibes last year, I was having fun in like a weird, like, why am I doing this to myself kind of way? Like I was like just tense and like taking nervous shits in between every round, and like, just staying on the bleeding edge of like X and O. It was just like every round was just like more and more pressure. And I just like, it was fun, but man, it was exhausting. This year was totally different. Like, it was just all good vibes. So round one, I get paired against. We got to give shout outs to people I went with too. So Landon and Bob from the game store were qualified for LVO and went up there. They stayed at the Rio. I stayed at the Flamingo with my wife because just decided to do a trip to Vegas together and kind of split it.
Because the Flamingo is awesome.
The Flamingo sucks balls, dude.
Oh. I will not hear such slander about such a hotel.
It was so run down. I wish I didn't even bother taking pictures, but my God, stuff was just like, the fuck are you charging me $150 plus this bullshit, like, what do they call it? Resort fee? Like $200 a night for this shit? Come on, man.
Well,
someone died in here.
Well, so our sponsorship by the Flamingo Hotel, I think, is pretty much out the door.
Yeah, fuck those guys. So yeah, I went with I didn't go with Bob and Landon, but I met up with them. And I guess I should preface like the other thing was, so I'm a fairly competitive player, but I do not get the reps that a lot of these competitive guys do. A lot of these guys are just on TTS grinding and just like getting in tons and tons of games. I play like 2 to 3 games a week. So my prep for this was, I wouldn't say minimal, but damn near. And Landon was bringing Asgard. So I got reps into Asgard. Bob was bringing Defenders. I got reps into Defenders. And then I think David brought Webs one night. I was trying to get reps into like all this stuff I thought was going to be there. And that kind of didn't end up helping, but we'll get into that later.
How did your prep compare to last year?
Honestly, kind of the same.
Okay. But you had played a lot of Guardians.
I'm kind of a Guardians main, so right. I just like, I've had a lot of games with Guardians. I didn't really need a ton of reps to. It was just more of like, how does this matchup go? Whatever. But CGR was so stupid that,
right?
Like whatever, just put them on the table and kill people. It's a lot easier to play. Like when you're playing an aggro list, like you don't have to. I don't want to say you don't have to think as much because there's a lot of thinking no matter what in the game. But like you're kind of doing your game plan. You're trying to kill people. Like you're playing like low scoring stuff on like you're playing narrow scenarios or narrow secures. It's like you don't have to like think about a lot of things. It's more like target priority and like activation priority.
You're probably playing fewer
But
models. Probably playing fewer
yeah,
models too.
and that kind of goes with just that kind of stuff just goes with playing the affiliation more than who you're playing against. Obviously, you need to know like target priorities against things, but I would say my prep kind of was similar. I'm not really big on TTS, so I didn't practice on TTS last year either. And I was just getting like one night a week at the game store, so like two or three games. So it was similar. So first round, I get defenders, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, I've got practice in these guys. It was Jeremy, otherwise known as Nobility in Discord. Really good player. I think he's second rank defenders, right under Eric on the leaderboard. He had Prio. I think he picked blue. Yeah, he picked blues, and we ended up on Hammer's Extremis. I took Apocalypse, Beast, Magic, Deadpool, Toad against his Hulk, Daredevil, Wong, and Namor, and I managed to like fuck up my game immediately by accidentally putting War on Deadpool and Famine on Magic, even though I've played the two of them as Magic, War, and Deadpool Famine like a million times. But that didn't even end up mattering because Jeremy just hollowed my butthole out and made me regret everything that I had done up until that point. So he basically he has Prio. He steals his right flank with Namor, moves back to his back riot. I move up with Toad because he's our only mid steal. Grab my right hammer. He just does. I think he grabs his back hammer with Daredevil, and Wong just moves up and like passes power or something. He last acts Hulk, double moves, picks up size 4 terrain, dunks it into Toad. Toad has 0 power because he just picked up a hammer. Even if he had a power, he has a hammer, so it would cost 2. He rolls 1 block, takes 4 damage. My APOC last act moves up, pops Hulk for like 7, which I was like, okay, cool. We're off to a good start. And then all the shit just started raining down and rolling down the hill. And I ended up at like the bottom of the hill in a big pool of shit. So top of round 2, he first acts Hulk. Or sorry. Power phase. He drops pentagrams with Wong. Drops the pentagram behind Hulk. Activates Hulk. Punches Toad. Kills him. Steals the hammer. Heals on the Extremis. Hops through the portal. Heals on the back Extremis. Passes the turn. I'm like, okay, cool. So now he has 4 people on his back. His back, am I saying Extremis? His back riot.
Okay.
And he has 3 hammers. So he's scoring 4 points from his back point. And I have to sit on my back point and take the 2 flanks and have my hammer to have parity against his scoring. Yeah, so I move Daredevil up on my left riot and like try to pepper him. Daredevil never pops off. Jesus Christ. Deadpool never pops off, never hits a bang bang trigger. Can't do enough damage. I can't overextend to APOC because he's my only guy with a hammer. Like, I give him all 4 hammers, and then it's even worse. Toad was already dazed, so he has 3 health left. He limps his little dick ass back to the back riot and just pouts in the fucking corner for the rest of the game. Yeah, and Magic was like trying to do stuff like throw stupid 4 dice attacks. Like, it's just so hard. Like, you can't move in because he just instantly dazes you. like, what do you get done? You move in, maybe you daze a person, they drop the hammer, you pick it up. Now what? He acts, dazes you, picks up the hammer, and you're back to square one. He was blocking the portal with a bunch of bases. He had a piece of terrain next to the portal, so I couldn't even really gang up on the portal. It just felt like, so playing against a portal player, specifically on riots. I mean, more so on riots, but I guess on other Ds too. But riots is just so punishing. It just feels like you're playing another game. It feels like you're playing a game and they're playing a completely different game. And the game they're playing, they're just like kicking your ass, and like you don't have the tools to play their game. It feels really, really, really bad. And then the riot just compounds it because he can heal twice with each character, just hopping through a portal. Because if he takes the damage, he gains the power, and he gains the power at the top of the round. So it's got the power to hop through the portal, power to heal, power to heal. So it's like you have to daze people, or he just heals and stays alive. And then hammers. It was a total low roll on both. Hammers was terrible. It just gave him more punching power. If I did move in, he just hits me harder. It was just like I had to laugh about it. It was a 10-19 loss round one. I was like, okay, well, can't win LVO now. But yeah, it was fun though. It was a good game. I mean, not really. I got my ass kicked, but we were having fun. I was laughing. He was sweating it though. He's sweating it. I'm like, dude, you don't think you have this in the bag? But I get it. He came to win, so he was putting up a fight till the very end. But it was just like the games felt so damn hopeless from like very early on to me, and it just kept getting worse and worse. So round 2, I go into Philip. He's playing Hellfire. I won Prio this time. I picked my blues. We ended up on Madmen, and then I low rolled his cubes. Hellfire cubes is really good.
JP, let me
Oh yeah,
give
go
you
ahead.
just
Yeah.
give me let me kind of we'll break in between. David, any with regards to the first round game, any kind of thoughts in terms of kind of JP's experience, or what something you would have gleaned out of that?
I think one, I had always kind of like had this thought that like anybody that's playing defenders needs to be playing pentagrams, because man, pentagrams just like if you can position it correctly where your opponent can't really use it, it can get like it can snowball easily.
And that's kind of what JP was describing. Sounds like that's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was telling Bob, because Bob played defenders. I was like, man, you need to take pentagrams. You need to take pentagrams, and he was like, I don't have enough reps in it. I'm like, you should just take it.
I don't know if you take it though. You need reps with that card. It's bad.
Do you feel like the circumstance that you got put in on that game that was really kind of dispositive?
You said circumstance.
In other words,
what?
the way that was a terrible question. I apologize. The way you got pentagrams played into you, do you feel like that kind of decided the game?
Oh, 100%. Like APOC is like like as far as range bands go, they're a very mid-range team. Like there's got a lot of range 2 and 3 attacks, like a few 4s, but they're like piddly 4s. Like they're not going to win you the game like shooting at range 4. You have to move in. And just the circumstantially was just bad. Like Toad days, he had 3 hammers. I can't move in with the APOC and beat anybody up, or he dazes like APOC's not very tough, and he's like got my only hammer. Now I just give him even more leverage to turtle. It was crazy. It just I didn't have tools. I didn't like Beast was my best tool. I was just moving him in, pest bombing his castle, hitting 4 people with conditions, but like it doesn't really do a ton. Like it's not killing them.
Okay.
So it was it was a very one-sided, hopeless game.
Okay.
It felt really bad. But
Sounds
I
like
mean,
it got away pretty quickly.
yeah, I mean, both scenarios were low rolls. I think Hammers and Riots was definitely a low roll, and I think Hammers was my worst extract for him, or for me too, just because like it just let him punish me harder if I came in on him.
And
Alex,
and
Alex, oh,
I will
go
say
ahead.
the Namor bunker, that is the thing. Like it's real hard to get in there.
Yeah, I mean, he was getting a reroll on every defense too, plus double heal if he needed it. It was stupid.
Alex, any other thoughts on that first round game?
I feel his pain when it comes to those horseman decisions. I have gone through it myself, even more so in that specific horseman mix-up. I have given Deadpool and Magic Famine, and it just feels good the way around. So I know his pain on that. It sucks.
Okay, so dive us back into your second game then, JP. Sorry, I didn't. I just want to give you a little bit of chance to breathe too, but get a chance to get everybody else in on the conversation.
Yeah, all good. My voice could definitely use a rest in between.
Kind of sounded like it.
So Philip was my next opponent. He was playing Hellfire, landing on Madman cubes. I wasn't super excited about going into Hellfire with cubes, but I had Prio. I snatched mid with Toad. He moved Emma up and tried to kill Toad, which is pretty good considering that he can't react with Slippery or Brace or anything. But I ended up bringing APOC Beast, Toad, Magic Blob into Emma, Rhino, Toad, Miles, Shang-Chi. Basically, he kind of loaded his right side and put Miles on his left, and I counter-deployed Magic into his Miles and Blob just to sit on my back Madman. And then APOC kind of took mid, and then Toad grabbed mid, and Beast went left. And I basically crushed his left side with Magic into Miles. I just took him off the board and then flipped the Madmen and kind of like collapsed in on the other flank. I was just able to outscore him that game. I don't have a ton of notes from it. It was basically like Magic kills Miles, completely takes flank, moves in, game over. It was pretty. I mean, there were 9 points on the board. I can't remember what round it was over. Maybe 4. He got his robbery off on APOC. But I was like, just taking the flank was just too good on Madmen. Like it's hard to get parity when someone completely takes a flank and then comes in on you. So I won that one 16-10. You guys want to talk about that at all, or want me to move on?
Alex,
I will say I didn't practice against Hellfire. So I practiced against defenders, but not portals. I didn't practice against Hellfire at all. And you will see a pattern here.
Alex, is that how does that experience kind of comport? Have you had much of a chance to play your Apocalypse into Hellfire, and how did that feel for you?
I have not played Apocalypse into Hellfire once. We don't have a Hellfire player here, really. So I haven't gotten any reps against her, so I would have no idea what to do.
David, what were your thoughts about that second round game?
I'm kind of surprised your opponent let you like basically like I don't even know if you should have taken Miles at all, right? Like that feels bad with like Magic and APOC. Like
Yeah, I think he was deciding whether to take. I think he had mentioned he was debating between Miles and Zemo. But I think he was leaning more toward the scenario since there were 9 points on the board. With the steal and the ability for cubes to stack, maybe he was thinking that he could snake a snake a Venom Blast at some point and just put the score up way out of reach or something. I didn't really talk to him about it too much, but I didn't bring Psylocke or anything. And APOC never touched Miles. It was all magic.
JP, do you think Apocalypse being relatively new gave you some advantages for people that you were playing that really didn't see him much before?
I mean, probably like Alex was saying, we don't have Hellfire in our meta. I'm sure there's people who don't have APOC in their meta.
Right.
But I mean, geez, like there was a ton of hype behind APOC. Like if you didn't have APOC in your meta, I don't know, you're not trying hard enough.
What's wrong with your meta? All right, so your third game.
All right, game 3 was against Patrick. It was in the Midnight Suns. He won Prio. I believe he picked his blues. I think so. We ended up on Intrusion Senators, which was a high roll for me. I love Senators with this list. It just defaulted to 19 threat because they're both 19.
Why do you love Senators with this list?
Into this meta, I think APOC wants to score. So having six points of extract is good, and also so when you could break parity on Senators, if you steal one of their close ones with, say, Toad or someone tanky, maybe usually it's Toad. We'll just, for the sake of argument, it's getting stolen with Toad. If they want to maintain parity, they have to steal one of yours, and in that case, they're in range of APOC famine hopping and double tapping them. So it just sets up an APOC assassination round 1, which I'm all about. I don't know my win percentage on Senators, but it's very, very high. It's a really good scenario for APOC, in my opinion.
Okay.
So I took APOC, Blob, Magic, Beast, Toad, Bullseye. You can probably determine like what their rider stat or what their rider tags were.
Mm-hmm. Did you by that point in time, by the time you got there, did you have your, other than kind of the misstep in round 1, did you kind of have your horseman determinations made already?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like it was just round 1 LVO. I was just tripping. Like,
yeah,
I've played the list enough. I know who's doing what and whatnot. It was just being dumb. And then it was versus Blade, Eye-Hulk, Skull 2, and Encantu. So he's basically 4 wide, pseudo 5 wide with the grunt.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up grabbing 4 Senators, and he couldn't daze anybody round 1. So I think he contested. He had 1 intrusion, I had 1, and then I think we pushed 1, so it was like 5-3. This game really came down to Eye-Hulk having an absolutely fucking terrible activation at top of round 2, I think. Like he threw his 2 attacks. I think he had 3 successes or something on each, no wilds. And then he Siege of Darkness, threw another attack, and I think he sieged on like Blade, probably in Kantu. Didn't roll wild on that attack either for Hulk. It was just a dog shit activation for Eye-Hulk, and then I was able to daze Red Skull with APOC because I get to pick Red Skull's weakness, whatever it is. So I was able to maintain, like Eye-Hulk did shit. Red Skull gets dazed, and then Encantu and Blade are like left holding down the fort, which is not going to happen. So I went up. I can't remember what I went up round 2. And then round 3, I'm trying to remember if I dazed or if I KO'd Red Skull. I know I took a blade activation out. I dazed blade before he activated, so I was just constantly taking an activation away from him, and it just was too much for him. He couldn't attrition me down. I ended up winning 20-6. He was a cool dude. We ended up talking for like 20, 30 minutes after about Midnight Suns and stuff, because I do like Midnight Suns. I was playing them for a while last year. So yeah, it was kind of a scary list to go into with Skull 2 and iHulk, but man, when iHulk whiffs, that dude whiffs.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that game. And then that was the end of day 2. I was 2-1. And went back to my hotel, and I think we saw a show that night. And then came in the next day and started again.
David, what stands out about that Apocalypse Midnight Sun matchup to you?
Man, it sucks for Midnight Suns to lose Smash.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that card was so good with an iHulk activation, especially when you get Siege.
Terrifying.
Oh yeah.
You know who's really good into iHulk? Blob.
Why is that?
You can't throw him, and he gets pushed away too, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a sizeless push on his haha that tickles. And then like you're just basically turn iHulk's wilds into hits. Like he can't throw them, so he's just like middle finger to iHulk.
Yeah, that really does kind of take away a lot of iHulk's tools that he likes.
And he has 4 physical with damage reduction, and
Yeah.
iHulk's throwing physical attacks. So I mean, he's just not what iHulk wants to be punching.
That is one of the reasons why I put She-Hulk in my Shield roster, was because I can do the similar thing with Defensive Prototype, where it's like, oh yeah, you can punch into She-Hulk, but you can't throw her.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Alex, have you had a chance to play with any of that?
Like, I guess, what do you mean play with any of that? Because I mean, JP and I have very similar lists.
Right. I guess.
And
Yeah. Have you had a chance to go into a Midnight Suns roster, and how's that felt for you when you've played Apocalypse?
well, here locally, iHulk is a menace. And I don't think I've had a situation where iHulk hasn't ripped me a third asshole. So every fucking game he does it to me. And just from personal experience, no, I don't think iHulk misses Smash, because he fucking smashes me every time. But on paper and the actual results and outcomes, yes, I can agree with it. So I hate iHulk into Apocalypse as long as he can get the one wild he needs. He's just a menace. Throwing around anybody but Blob is just bad.
So that was the end of your first day. You talked, JP. You talked at the start that you were going in a little kind of less sweaty and a little more just for the experience. Did the fact that you had dropped your first game kind of lean into that, or I guess what were you feeling, or what were you thinking after you got done with day one?
100%. Like dropping game 1 is like, okay, well the pressure's off. I'm still gonna try. I'm still gonna play all 6 rounds because, one, I still want to have like 6 game. I want to see where my 6 games ends up. Obviously, I get dropped to losers bracket after round 1, and like the games skew weird because I'm not in the winners bracket anymore. So I'm not playing exos, but I still wanted to see where I ended up. And second of all, man, hold on. Second of all, I had goodie bags. So, I mean, I had to give them away. I had 6 opponents, 6 bags. Let's go. I had to
So-
shill for Witty Banner.
We're always appreciating that. So, so you get ready for you start of the next day. Did you do anything? Was your preparation between days different this year than it was last year?
No. So rewind. Round 1. Jeremy is like instantly knows like, okay, I'm taking my blues. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, he had obviously like looked at my list, was prepping for it, blah 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 blah. I didn't look at shit. Like, I'm just winging it. Show up at the table, I'm looking at your stuff there. Like, I was like, once the tournament or once the day 1 was over, like my brain switched off of MCP, and I'm in fuck off mode in Vegas, like whatever.
Well, Vegas is pretty good for getting you there. I can see that. So how did your second day start?
Second day, I walked up to the table and met Josh, who was playing the wide Weapon X list, which is pretty terrifying. And it's another one. So backing up to the previous game, Midnight Suns, I think I maybe got like one or 2 practice games into Midnight Suns into this leading up to the tournament. So like very little practice there. Although I was kind of based on the Neverwinter results, I was expecting Midnight Suns to make a showing at LVO just because they were so successful at Neverwinter. I was like, okay, they're on the map for sure. Like I was expecting to see a decent amount, but didn't get a ton of reps. So like we have 0 Weapon X players locally, so I had never played into this list. And they run a bunch of people who punch dicks really hard. And I'm like, I don't know about this. This is gonna be weird. But hey, guess what? We landed on Senators again. It was Scoundrel Senators. He had Prio. So there's 11 points on the board, and we play at 20. So okay, cool. So I take my 6 wide with Bullseye, and I swap out Beast for Colossus. Colossus is actually really good on Scoundrels, in my opinion, because it lets you anchor APOC mid. And APOC can either get cover from everything, which is kind of fun, because if he's taking 1 damage, you just don't take the cover, and then you take the damage, you heal it, and then you gain a power. Or you use the cover to get to 1 damage and then take it, and you know what I'm saying. If they don't want you to have cover, they got to move on the point. Now Colossus is like, what's up, bitch? You're punching me. So I do like Colossus quite a bit. That's kind of how it ended up playing out. Like Blob was on my back right, Colossus, APOC were mid, Toad was mid as well, because he had grabbed one of his Senators, and then Bullseye was on my back left, just trying to stay alive, trying to just earn a point every round. And then who was my other one? Magic. I think Magic was on my back right as well. Anyway, I will say it's a terrifying list when they go 7 wide against you, but it makes your Pestilence bombs so sweet. I was Pestilence bombing the shit out of that team. So I guess the key points here were he set up Weapon X. Actually, let's go back. Dossier. He played Dossier. I put it on Blob, who had set up like on my right, and he played it with Sabretooth, who was on his right. So like there was a ton of distance for Sabretooth to cover to even start getting any benefit from that. And then I just played Blob KG on my back Scoundrel, and like, what's he gonna do? It's really tough to mess with Blob with that team. They're all physical attackers. He's getting cover or they're getting pushed off. Like it's tough for him. But yeah, he set up Weapon X to bomb my mid on round 2. So he kind of set him back a little bit within like a medium range charge. So obviously he's 7 wide, so I prio. I activate Colossus. I move up, like Pestilence bomb like 4 or 5 people. I give Weapon X root, and I'm like, okay, have fun with that. Like you can't charge now, so it basically like slowed down a ton of his attrition, and then I don't think. Let's see. Yeah, so he had 3 senators. I had 3 senators, but I had mid. So he went up. We went up 6-5 round 1. I slowed him down enough to maintain all my points. So we went up 12-10 round 2. Top of round 3. I had round 2. I had moved Blob to punch Sabretooth off the point, and then I didn't get it. I didn't get the wild, but I ended up doing 3 damage to him. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then round 3, top of the round, I'm like, okay, I gotta go APOC. I need to kill Weapon X and Sabretooth because at that point they had both moved on to the midpoint with X-23. He just had a bunch of angry clawed people ready to rip out all the throats of all my team. So I spendered Logan, and I think I ward it, I want to say. Or not Logan, but Weapon X. And he had root on him, so I'm like rolling 10. I one-shot X20, or Jesus Christ, all these names. Weapon X, and then I throw a builder into Sabretooth, trying to do 4 to him. I use Rider rerolls to roll into exactly lethal on Sabretooth. I daze his 2 most dangerous models at the top of the round. He has like Domino and Kantu and like Bullseye Toad and Weapon X, or not Weapon X, X-23. He activates Weapon X, or X-23, comes in, kills Toad and Bullseye, makes me drop I think 1 or 2 senators. No, it was just 1 because Bullseye didn't have one, but he ended up taking the extract, taking my back scoundrel. But he didn't have enough firepower. Killing Weapon X and Sabretooth top of the round was just so fucking brutal. Yeah. So I ended up scoring. It ended up 19-14, round 3, a win for me. So I scored 7 points. Yeah, 7 points. So I probably had like 4 senators and like 3 points or something like that. But yeah, I had a window to like kind of cripple him in that round 3. If I didn't hit that window though, it was gonna get real dicey real fast. Because that team is terrifying.
David, what do you think? What are your thoughts on the Apocalypse Weapon X matchup?
First of all, that matchup just sounds really cool. Like
Yeah,
it's
it really
like
does.
Apocalypse fighting a bunch of angry clawed guys.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna get that in season 2 of X-Men 97.
But I think, I mean, it's just a tough match. Like, and when you had mentioned liking senators, I was also thinking that the pestilence bombs are usually pretty good on senators, just because everybody ends up all around where the senators are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's a higher threat too, so there's going to be more bodies probably.
Well,
Alex,
and the nature of the crisis incentivizes you to take more bodies too, right? Like, because
right.
you want to be able to hold as many as you can.
Yeah.
Alex, what would your thought process be in terms of a matchup like that?
I think it'd be really fun. It sounds like a fun matchup. The aggression definitely weighs more in Weapon X's favor, like JP said, and it would be a different puzzle to unlock because uh, w- a lot of our meta locally, aside from JP and myself, it's kind of rare for us to see going 6 or even in weird circumstances 7 wide,
Right.
unless it's webs. But webs they play the scenario game, so it's a different type of massive wide squads getting put on the table, and I've been enjoying playing Apocalypse wider a lot more than I thought I would because I don't know, I just really like it. I've been digging it, and it just be weird because you would only be able to pick 4 of your models to be horsemen, and GP picked the right one to not be the horseman, and because Bullseye can't be one to begin with,
Right.
so he picked the right model to there. But it's just interesting because I'm playing pure affiliation. I don't have Bullseye, and having that 6 model, you have to really decide who's not going to get the horseman ability, and not have the option to reroll either. So I don't know.
That
I think it'd be fun.
that's right. You're too busy playing you're playing your favorite model, Honey Badger.
I know. It's weird because I mean I'm really thinking about putting Blob back in the list too. I
Yeah.
don't like him at all, but we got a chance.
Okay, so
And Bullseye is the fucking goat. He is the goat.
yeah,
Like he
I'm
is so good.
yeah, I made the mistake of taking Bullseye out of my Dracula list, and that didn't last very long. So, JP, what was your we're up now your 5th game, is that right?
Yeah, 5th game.
Okay. So what was that?
So this was the dreaded Thanos Cabal, although he opted not to take Thanos, and he even said he basically had him in the list, but told all his opponents that he wasn't going to play him, and he didn't play him. He was playing Zemo Namor, Reroar Bubble, which
Okay.
was just as bad. So this was against Chad.
Okay.
He won Prio. We went Portal Skulls. We got my portals, his scrolls at 20. He took. I took Apoc, Beast, Toad, Magic, Psylocke, Bullseye, and he took Skull 3, Zemo, Bucky, Time Namor, and Shang. So he runs up, flips the point with Namor, grabs the scroll, successfully rolls, moves back to his back portal, flips that one. So he's picked up a scroll and flipped 2 portals with Namor. First act. I move up Psylocke to my right flank and pick up scroll, successfully roll on that, and then end up flipping. Magic went to my left. I can't remember the order. It doesn't really matter. Magic went to the left, flipped that portal. I flipped my back portal. He moved Zemo up in front of Bucky. Bucky took the Soldat, so he activated Gain of Power because he's next to Red Skull. Flipped in front of Zemo. He now has a reroll. He's within 3 of Psylocke. He ends up doing 4 damage to her. Round 1. I go up 5-3. And this is like shades of game 1, where I feel like decent at the end of round 1. Not great, but decent. And then like the shit hits the fan. Chad, in his defense, he played a really, really, really good game. But holy shit, dice were just dicing and not in my favor. He was just reaming me, and I could not do anything. Like the last round of the game, I finally dazed one of his models,
Oof.
and I had lost two. I think I had lost Beast. Beast got like one shot by like Shang-Chi builder. Like just I think he had like 8 successes. Bullseye was on one health on his flip side. Beast was off the table, Toad was off the table, and he had grabbed the extracts and was just kind of like castling. And yeah, I couldn't portals could go fuck itself. It was not cooperating. I tried I rolled skulls on portal flips 4 times in a row.
Ouch.
Three of those were over flips because he had a healthy character. So basically a coin flip because I was rolling 3 dice. I got to get 2. I missed all the coin flips, all 3, and got portaled. It was just such a bad, like the dice were just like, yeah, go home, bitch. And yeah, I can't do anything if that happens. It's too hard. And like so Skull has like dice correction, right? The Skull thing. It's really good. It feels bad to roll skulls normally, obviously, but man, he was rolling a skull like every attack. He'd be like, "Yeah, gotten that critting." Like my experience with Red Skull is like I roll blanks and shields. Like skulls do not want to come up when I'm playing Skull. But the dice were just incredibly good for him. And like I said, he'd played an awesome game. It would have been a tough game if the dice weren't like that, but having the dice like that, it was just complete fucking like annihilation. I lost 10-19. Went down 3-2 at that point. And yeah, I was just laughing about it. Just having a good time. The absurdity of the game sometimes.
David, anything to add in on that game?
There is starting to be a trend with Namor. And I kind of am like, so when we talked about Namor, I wasn't really that high on him. And then now that I've played Namor, man, he's pretty freaking good.
Well, we're gonna when we get into some of the statistics for the tournament, we will. I mean, spoiler alert. We'll have that conversation again. Alex, any other thoughts on JP's game 5?
I don't blame him for wanting to get rid of portals. It's I think the least played least played Crisis to begin with, and people just don't like it. I like it. I have fun with it, but I can see why people don't like it, and it goes to show it- based on its popularity. Um, but I can also feel his pain. Dice sometimes suck, and
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing you can do about it. So it's just kind of it's a great idea to just laugh it off and move on.
Yeah,
So
there's times that's all you can do. Okay, so moving into your last game then. What were you looking at?
All right, so I had played Chad that round 5, who completely kicked my ass, and then I played his son round 6. I played Toby,
Wow.
and he brought webs, and we played a high scoring game again, which I was cool with. Ended up being Scoundrels, Spiders. He won Prio. So if you've been keeping track, you probably haven't. Everybody out there, I lost Prio 5 times, which is fine. I don't hate that with APOC because I get to pick the threat. And
Yeah.
going back to LVO preparation, I guess I should say, I was it was weird because you can get trapped into a 15 if the opponent is really gunning for 15s. With like researcher, and then you've got like gamma and sword.
Mhm.
But we were kind of kicking around ideas because like the list wasn't like super locked at like 10 characters. I had a couple flexy spots. So like maybe I just take something for 15, like break in case of emergency type thing. But I just ended up saying I'm gonna keep a stronger list and like have more flexible picks than have just a weird ass like random like 15 happen.
Okay.
And that was the correct choice because I never once played 15. The lowest I even played all day was 17. That was just once. The rest of them were, oh no, sorry, two 17s, a 19, and three 20s. So yeah, so he won Prio. I brought APOC, Magic, Psylocke. I figured I would bring the Mystic. It's against Webs, so Magic, Psylocke, let's go. And then I brought Blob, Toad, Bullseye. And he brought Miles, Spec, Moon Knight, Agent Venom, Shang, and Gwen. He was very... actually, so he had Prio. So, weirdly, he had Prio, but he didn't bring ASM, but he brought Cat and Spider. But realized that he didn't bring Cat.
Ooh.
And I'm like, okay, whatever. Just like, it's the last round. I'm like 3-2. Like, whatever. I'm here to shill for Winnie better. Like, go ahead and we'll just random a card from the other cards that you brought. So he ended up getting the Shang-Chi card, Chi Mastery.
Yep.
Got that back in. But it cost him the mid grab, right? Because we're on Spider Infected. And he's like really hesitant to move up and take that because APOC is just licking his lips. So it basically, he conceded mid to me. I grabbed it with Toad and went up on points. It was like minimal, but what was it? Like, I think we contested one, so it was like maybe 5-4 or something, which isn't like a great spot for Webs to be in. So I think round 2, I want to say he dazed Beast on the flank. I moved up Psylocke, dazed Miles, and then I think he went AV. Well, no, that's not how it worked because AV dazed Beast. Beast had 2 health left. Basically, he dropped cameras. I don't think he. I want to say he didn't activate AV top of the round though. I think he activated somebody else. Doesn't matter. He had a really cool play. He dropped cameras. He shot Beast. One shot him with AV. He had to do 2 damage to Beast. Did it. Because Beast can't reroll and he can't gain cover. I am rolling 4 dice to his 5, but dice are going to dice. And he gained an extra power from camera. So then he was up to 6 power at that point. So he web swung over and got a juicy ass round 2 AV beam on 3 of my characters. Ended up dazing 2 of them. I want to say it was Bullseye and I think it was Magic. It was either Magic or who was over there? Blob. It was Blob, Magic, and Bullseye were back on there. So he basically like dazed 3 people. It was really good. And that kind of put him back in the game. And then the game was in my mind, and this is like day 2, game 6. Like my brain is kind of wearing out a little bit, so my memory of this game is like very chaotic. It was just a crazy ass game.
Well, it kind
I
of,
wish I could
especially
remember.
when it starts that way. When it starts that way too, I imagine it kind of throws things off.
Yeah, I wish I could remember more details. It ended round 3. I hit the breakpoint 16 points to his 12 round 3, and it was over. But it was a crazy game. Like my timer was down to like single digit minutes. Like it was probably the most the most thought I put into a game all weekend. It
Is that
was
is that because you're going up against webs, which is just kind of a different animal than everything else?
yeah, I mean it's like fatigue going against webs on like a 10-point board. Just trying to like it's 6v6. There's a lot of moving parts. It's just crazy. A lot of chaos. Like reactive things on his side. You know, he's got Gwen with Lifesaver and like tactics cards and all kinds of, it's just like trying to figure out what to do. You got scoundrels giving cover. It's just a crazy game. It was fun though. Yeah.
Alex, have you got a chance to go up against webs, or what would you be thinking about piloting Apocalypse into a challenge like that compared to a most of the rest of the game like that?
Well, I've only played against webs once with Apocalypse, maybe twice. I only remember once though, and that was against JP. And I don't hate that matchup personally, just because with Pestilence, they hate Pestilence. Um, and being able to do it twice in one turn, if you're lucky enough to pull it off with your Pestilence, let's say rooting them, and then your Apocalypse instead of doing anything. I mean, I love the idea of just putting poison or slow on them instead. In addition to the root, because then they can't do anything turn two. Uh, but one thing I did learn, and JP, I think made the right call. Going wide, you have to go as wide as possible against them if you can, so that way they don't run up too quick on you, and you'll have options to kind of come back if you need to catch up.
David, what do you think about the Apocalypse into webs matchup?
Shout out to my boy Age of Venom. I fucking love that model. He's really good. Age of Venom is really good. If you haven't been playing Age of Venom, you should probably just be playing him because he's fun to play.
Is that just
His
because
ability to like move around and like, man, he ignores so much shit, and it's like, and he has incinerate, and he can like shake conditions, and like, he's just a good model.
so what would your after you kind of on the back end of things, what was your takeaway from your LVO experience with Apocalypse in that kind of a competitive environment? Was the experience what you thought it was going to be, or what surprised you the most about how Apocalypse stress tested into that kind of an environment?
First of all, it's a goddamn shark tank at LVO. First round I show up, I have to play nobility. Directly to my left, Mike DeLuca's playing. On my side of the table, and then on my side of the table, directly to my right, I got Hyper Viper, who introduced himself to me, and I haven't washed my hands since. Maybe he's the one who got me sick.
I was about to say that feels like an issue that goes far beyond MCP, but we're gonna leave that lay.
Yeah, I mean, there's just like so many damn good people there. Like, I caught up with Gregory Shat, who I played in the finals last year. Shot the shit with him. Talked to Eric Wong throughout the tournament. Gave him shit for playing Asgard instead of his defenders that he's been backing for years. Talked to DeLuca a little bit. Talked to a bunch of people. Caught up with Quentin. And Skylar Lowry from the Kansas City meta. They came. Quentin obviously repping webs. Caught up with Carl from of Carl Con fame. Got another cool card from him. Shot the shit with him. It's just cool to like see people and like talk to them. Because like they're not, you don't see these people unless you travel for tournaments a lot. But even then, like it's kind of hit or miss, depending on who you're seeing. So, Shark Tank, you gotta have luck. Like my first game against Nobility, like DeLuca. Actually, it's funny because DeLuca was playing Philip, who I played round 2 in the losers bracket, but their game ended before my game with Nobility, and right as their game ended, DeLuca like excitedly exclaims like, "I got so fucking lucky, man." I don't know what the game state was or what happened, but like DeLuca was like a dick hair away from losing the game. And that's just how it goes, right? Like you can be a good player and get knocked out round 1, or you survive and get super lucky and then make it to the finals. Like DeLuca, like and like DeLuca is an exceptional player, but it just goes to show like not only it's a Shark Tank, and just dice are gonna do the thing sometimes. Yeah, and then I went on a tangent there, and you had a second part to the question. Oh, how do I think APOC did? Oh, so
Yeah.
that's the funny thing. Like getting knocked out round 1, like totally, like totally screws up all the pairings, right? Like
Right.
I'm like, okay, yeah, Asgard's gonna totally be there. Guess what? Didn't hit a single Asgard, because guess what? They're probably going X and O for a while. So, like, never hit an Asgard. In my testing with Landon, I was like doing decently, but I just don't have faith in APOC to be able to beat Asgard. But it wasn't an issue because I just got my fucking ass kicked round 1. So problem solved.
Well, that is one way to address it.
Yep.
Let's talk about the kind of the tournament as a whole. David, do you want to talk a little bit about how the top 8 broke itself out and who the kind of the standout affiliations were?
I mean, we obviously we know Eric won with Asgard, and he played DeLuca with his. Did you talk to DeLuca at all about his roster? And
So I am a loser, and I watched all the LVO casts like this week. So DeLuca was, I think he was talking after the finals to Ghostier, and I think this is like he said it, but I don't remember exactly like the context. But he basically takes Dormammu had a big question mark above his head, right? So he basically said Dormammu's there into Midnight Suns, into Immortal Hulk, into Immortal Hulk and Blade, because he can splatter Blade with energy attacks, and Immortal Hulk can't throw him, which is a big part of Immortal Hulk's kit. Like, I'm gonna punch your size 4, and I don't even really care that much if I do. Like, I want to do damage, but I want to hit wild most of all, so I can have like a size 4 throw just attached to my builder. That's just like really stupid, right? But if you can't throw Dormammu, then all of a sudden you're throwing a 7 dice physical attack into my 4 dice physical block, and that's a lot easier to swallow. So basically for that. And the other thing was that they, interestingly enough, like we don't have a ton of local Asgard players, but locally, like Loki's getting played a lot. But it turns out that Eric and DeLuca both agree that Jane is a better leader, just overall. And in their finals, they both took Jane. DeLuca does not even have Loki 2 in his list. And I believe Eric did, but they both brought Jane Jane as their leader.
Yeah, I was gonna point that out. There were 3 Asgard players in the top 8, and all 3 of them played nothing but Mighty Thor as leaders.
Yeah, it turns out she's pretty good.
Well, also apparently the Loki Prince of Lies as the big broken meta thing. Maybe that's been put to bed a little bit.
I mean, I think he's still really good, and like he's probably good into certain teams or certain scenarios. But I think Jane was kind of an underdog for, like, generally speaking, and this LVO kind of shined a light on that and changed perspective of people who weren't as in the know about it. Like I have played 0 Asgard games myself, so I haven't had any time to fuck around with anything.
Well, let me run through the top 8 real quick. Eric won it with Asgard. DeLuca took runner-up with Cabal, Asgard, Dark Dimension. Gregory Schott took 3rd with the Thanos Cabal. Justin Binks O'Brien took 4th with Apocalypse. Hyper Viper was 5th with Asgard Avengers Defenders. Doom Squirrel, Chad Martin took 6th with Thanos Cabal. Alex Botts was 7th with Shield, and Quebec Tango was 8th with Webs. I was looking through the rosters. With all things old or new again. Of the 8 top 8s, there were 3 Thanoses, 2 Party Thors, and 2 Namers. There were only 2 of the 8 rosters that did not have one of those 3 characters.
And one of them was APOC.
Yeah, one of them was Apocalypse and one of them was Webs.
Yeah.
Other than that, everybody had either a Thanos, a Party Thor, or a Namor, or in one case a combination. There's only one had both Thanos and Namor. So what
The
does
statistics of Shang-Chi in the top 8?
right?
know?
And then we get into there were 47 of the 64 rosters that gave that broke things down. So the top 5 characters were was a tie between Namor and Shang-Chi. Then it was Party Thor, Beta Ray Bill, Wong, Baron Zemo, Toad, Miles, Dr. Voodoo, and Black Cat. So those were the top 10 characters. 6 of the 21 Namor players had the time gem. So what does that tell us about where the game's at now, Alex? What is that? If we've got the sharkiest of Shark Tanks and those are the characters that are coming out, what do we think that tells us about where we are from a game standpoint?
From a game standpoint, I feel it's leaning more towards attrition. That's just how I feel about it. The only real scory list that jumped out to me was Quentin's, and he's playing Webs. But the rest of them are either attrition or there was an Avengers in there, if I heard that correctly, or a Shield. And no, there was definitely a Shield. Was there an Avengers?
Hyper Viper had Avengers.
It was
Okay.
one of 3 possible rosters he could pull.
I don't think he played I don't think he played Defenders. He didn't have a Defender leader, and he got best in faction for Avengers. So I'm assuming he played Avengers probably every game.
Okay.
You'd have to look, but
So
I'm assuming so.
Well,
He
and
got
fair.
Tots played Midnight Suns,
he did.
not Shield.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It was. I'm
Gotcha.
sorry. Yep, you're right. That is Midnight Suns.
So
And
yeah, it just sounds like there was more attrition there, and everybody, and not everybody, but in general, people were very upset with the last rotation, saying that attrition just wasn't going to be a thing, and scoring didn't get hurt that much. I feel they both got hurt because I mean, Smash was a huge hit, and just overall, I mean, I think they both got hit, but I think attrition is still top dog right now. Scoring has a chance, and it's something scary if you don't check for it, but attrition's doing just fine. And it makes me excited to see, hopefully, the new crises that come out
yeah,
benefit both sides, and but a little bit more on the scoring side, so it's about even. I know it's a hot take, but I think attrition's sitting just fine.
David, this is the second year in a row we had a mirror for the finals. Do you think that is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing, or is it just kind of a thing?
I mean, maybe if it happens again, maybe it's a trend. I don't know. I will say this: the Justin who played Apocalypse, his roster was very similar to JP's, like almost like it's pretty scory too. He's running
Mhm.
Senators, and he's running Portals and Riots and Madmen.
Fuck portals. I think he's running Iceman. I
Yeah,
saw. I'm trying to remember the character differences.
that's the
Um,
only one. That's the
uh,
only difference is he's running. Oh
is he
well,
running Bullseye?
yeah, he's got Bullseye.
Okay.
Um, and
Bulls-
you didn't have Wolverine, did you?
I did not.
Okay, so you had Wolverine and Iceman.
Does he have Psylocke?
Nope.
He does not have
Okay.
Psylocke.
So Psylocke
Apocalypse.
out for Wolverine, and then does he have Blob?
Yes.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Yep.
Deadpool.
Yeah, it's Apocalypse, Colossus, Beast, Magic, Blob, Deadpool, Toad, Bullseye, Wolverine, Iceman.
Oh shit. Brain overload.
No,
I don't know which
no
one
honey
doesn't belong.
badger. There's no honey badger.
Honey Badger. There you go. Funny enough, I mean, in his defense, I did not play Honey Badger in any of the 6 games that weekend, and I put every other character on the table at least once. So she was the only one on my tray that did not get played. However, she is there for a very specific reason, and the reason never came up. So, like, if I land on an E and the points are there, like, I'm taking Honey Badger because this Honey Badger speed bump. With the way APOC is not the most burly of men, on an E, he can just get like a lot of heat really quickly, and having taunts is just too good for me to pass up personally.
Yeah. Um. Apparently, the people who put their codes in also believe fuck portals because it was the second. It was only research station was taken less.
Oof.
The most popular crises were Skrulls, Legacy, Demons, Hammer, and Gamma. And then that was like in the 28 players took Skrulls. Research Station, there were only 4. And then the 3 that were tied for the least common after that were Cubes, Fisk, and Portals. So
Yeah, that makes
does it
sense. That checks out.
so does the does do we think that with exceptional healing going away, making you're less likely to be taking. I mean, you're less incentivized to be splashing healing characters. Do you think that's part of the reasons why cubes is as less popular as it was?
Well, like going back to what Alex was saying,
Mhm.
it's just an attrition heavy meta right now. So
Just too busy people punching each other.
yeah, I mean, you don't want to put 5 points on the board. Like, why give your opponent outs? Just take 3.
Well, and the other thing for cubes with if you're taking cubes with a scoring team like webs, sometimes you don't really want to be taking that much incidental damage along with your enemy's damage.
Right.
It's really like it's Hellfire's best extract by far, and Hellfire just isn't very well represented right now. So I think that has a little bit to do with it. I think it like David said, it's a weird crisis because it has cube games have a tendency to really rubber band.
Right. So, with regards to tactics cards, I mean, there were 47 codes submitted. 46 rosters had Brace for Impact. The after that, it's Recalibration Matrix, Survival, Chi Mastery, Patch Up, Warpath, Sacrifice, I Am a Baron After All, Heroes for Hire, and Cosmic Obliteration. Those were the top 10 tactics card. Alex, is anything in there surprise you or kind of give you any insight in terms of the state of play of the game?
No, it does not surprise me. Uh, those sound right. Just based on the characters that were selected and the crises that we have currently, which leads to the second part of your question. They need to introduce more unaffiliated, not character specific tactics cards. I I get the route they're wanting to go with it, but it's it's unfortunate because I would say half or more than half of those character specific tactics cards just have not been good enough. Like one example I can think of is the Electro Sandman card. It'll
Mm-hmm.
never get played. It is not a good card.
Yeah.
But, the only card they gave him that was unaffiliated, it's just weird. It's weird. They need to stop with the character cards or at least make them halfway decent or give us unaffiliated non-character specific cards. We need some variety, I feel.
Yeah.
I
Top
think
10.
that train left. I don't think it's
I,
coming
I,
back.
I
I don't
tend
think it
to
is either.
I tend to agree, but I think the data supports your conclusion, Alex. I mean, you've got Chi Mastery at 4, I Am a Baron at 8, and Heroes for Hire at 9, and Cosmic Obliteration at 10. And that's it. Um, other than that, you've definitely got cards that you wouldn't have seen um as high up before the last rotation. Um, I know, David, Survival's the third most popular card taken. It feels like the thought process has gone back and forth as to whether that card's broken or not. Do you think that the fact that that was taken so frequently says something about the value or the effectiveness of that card?
Well, I just want to say first off, shout
Hmm?
out to fucking Zemo for being the goat of dodging the Nerf bat. I don't know
Oh,
how that dude has dodged all these nerfs.
I mean,
Zemo's fucking good.
not only is he dodge nerfs, but he gets a card that makes him better.
That's
Yeah, it's pretty
that's
silly.
so fucking accurate. Not only did he dodge all the nerfs, he got a card that made him better.
I mean, I love I at this point in time I hope AMG just never I hope they buff him. I hope they put out another card and they just make him stronger.
Boys, this is Zemo's world. We're just living in it.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
They
Who
come
would've
they'll
thought
come out with
in
a
a
2-thread
game,
Zemo, and it just makes 3-thread Zemo better.
Who would have thought in a game of like superheroes that a dude with a fucking sword he's just running around
A dude
everywhere?
a dude with a sword, a purple mask, and a fur-lined vest.
And tight leather pants.
And tight leather pants. Okay, JP, any what were your
We sort of got sidetracked. Let me
Oh,
talk
we
about
did. I'm
survival.
sorry. Yep. Yeah. So, so survival being the third most popular card taken, does that speak to what do you think that speaks to in terms of the level of effectiveness or of that card?
I mean, survival is a really good card. I mean, it has so many like it just has you have the ability to preserve a character's activation is just it's really good.
JP, did you bump up against that particular card in any of your games?
Yeah, it was God, who took that? It was I'm trying to remember if it was the Weapon X if it was Josh or if it was Toby with the Web Warriors maybe. Who took survival? I ran into it once and he played it top of the round. And I had to like just target somebody else. Survival is just weird. It's a good card. I don't think I'm not sure if it's quite on the level that people were kind of anticipating it would be. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Maybe people get better with it, but it's just one of those weird cards because like yeah, you force your opponent to have different target priority, but like I've run it and it's like okay, so I have two injured characters. I have to pick one to save, but they're immune. They're just gonna kill my other one. So I do get some value out of it, but it's not like something that completely just stops a kill. It's just who do I want to keep more? Which is good sometimes, but other times it feels like kind of not great for a Taxis card. It's like I don't want to lose either of those characters.
Okay, so let's kind of put a bow on it. JP, what were just in terms of a broader impression, do you said that it was a LVO really felt like a Shark Tank. Did it feel sharkier this year than it did last year?
Probably not.
Do you think that's
I guess I'm more familiar with faces now.
okay?
It's one thing to like look on Longshanks and see names and things, but when you're at a tournament and you see a face and you know who that is and you know like kind of their reputation or their success rate or whatever,
Mhm.
the more familiar you are with that, the more you're aware of your surroundings and you're like, okay, there's a lot of good people here.
Mhm.
Because like the last year, like I didn't know a lot of people that were there. Like I didn't know their faces. So like I knew some people, but this year I knew a lot more. And I'm still learning people.
Mhm.
Still meeting people. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure LVO was just as sharky last year. I just was less in the know of who people actually were.
Sure.
Because I don't really travel for big events too much. It's usually like regional or like LVO. I've gone 3 years now, but I'm not really traveling to like Adepticon or NashCon or any of the California tournaments or like
Right.
there's just a ton of stuff and some of these guys are just like in the circuit. They're just traveling, playing, but it's just not not where my life's at right now. So
Sure. David, what do you think? How has your thought process about where the game is changed at all after seeing how LVO went down, if at all?
I mean, there were obviously people were playing the characters that we all know are good, right? Like Fat Thor and Shang-Chi and Namor, and it is a little more surprising to see. I mean, Red Skull 3 is really good. It's surprising to see more of there's more of him than I thought there would be. But I mean, I think Cabal is in a good spot, so like it's a good roster.
Alex, how about you? Do you how do you I mean, you've been playing Apocalypse for a while, and now we get a chance to really see him sort of stretches his big celestial legs in a tournament like that. Did 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 Apocalypse perform the way you thought he would in a highly competitive environment, or did anything like that surprise you?
No surprises. And yeah, I think Apocalypse performed. I think the way I thought he would. Um, Apocalypse is not good enough to out attrition an attrition affiliation. Um, he can try, and he's got like the affiliation's got the models to try and do it, but I just don't think they can do it. Um, and Apocalypse hates Bill, Thor, Fat Thor, Loki. I'm pretty sure Lady Thor, she's got a throw, doesn't she?
Honor Builder.
Yeah, she throws
Yeah,
guys. She has Thor's builder this range 3.
yeah. It's just Apocalypse doesn't like the models that can give out damage that isn't attacks. Loki's blink damage, all those throws, the pounces. He fucking hates that shit because he doesn't get to heal from it, and it's just disgusting. He hates it. I thought the players that brought him and the rankings, I think they did exact. Apocalypse ranked right where he should have ranked because Asgard will kick him in the dick every time. I feel.
All right. Any kind of taking it sort of around the horn. JP, then Alex, or then David, then Alex. Any kind of final or closing thoughts on LVO and on the state of the game?
Well, it looks like we're back in the kaiju meta, for better or worse. I'm a kaiju player, so I'm okay with it. I probably will not be picking up Asgard though, because I foresee a Thor 2 nerf on the horizon. I don't want to paint capes just to have my models nerfed, so I'll probably pick up Guardians when they drop that new box. Yeah, but I mean, maybe we'll see Thanos nerf too. I don't know. Like he's still a big bad. It's pretty apparent that man, I really wanted to play DeLuca's list though. That list looks so fun. Just having all those cool models on the tray. Dormammu. It's really cool. Pocket pick, obviously, but just such a fun list to look at. I guess regarding LVO, just shout out to everybody, all my opponents, really good dudes, had good games, had fun. Everybody who I talked to, Matt talked to, caught up with. Shout out to all those guys.
David?
And shout out to Bob and Landon too for showing up to LVO, turning
100%.
out for the Outlanders.
100%.
I mean, my thoughts are if you haven't been playing Namor, you probably should be, because I mean, he's clearly really good. And shoving his fucking trident in people's like chests is so fun.
Alex?
Well, my thoughts. I'm excited for new crises because the there were a lot of attrition crises, and I'm okay with attrition crises, but we need some new ones.
Yeah, the two things I took away from the fact that we had a mirror 2 years in a row really does show that when you get all of the best players playing at the highest level possible, you really do kind of have everything boil down to find out what's the best thing. I think last year the CGR Guardians was that. This year we kind of have the experiment showing that it's Asgard. So I just think it's an interesting experiment to really figure out what's the strongest thing. The other thing I was struck with 3 of the top 8 having him in the roster, we learned that it is in fact true. Thanos is inevitable. Thanks for staying with us, webheads. We appreciate it. You can follow us on all the socials at Witty Bantercast. You can support us at patreon.com/Witty Bantercast. Help us keep the lights on. We will be back in your ears in a couple of weeks talking about some of the new characters and the new crises that are coming out. Until then, webheads, be good.